to the lean canvas, and we can all ask some questions on each other's ideas. And then we can kind of like talk about, what would be next steps in terms of sort of like validating some of these ideas, and maybe kind of like, making this something a bit more real in terms of like what a product could look like. Because this is what usually happens in the product process. So someone will do some research, they'll come up with a hypothesis, they'll get some data points. Some of that could be from existing users, some of it could be from the sort of like, what's a good way of describing this? It could be from hunches that people have had based on the information that's come in. And then someone has to synthesize that and try and make a compelling case for why everyone else on the team should follow. And typically, what happens is one person will kind of act as like a dictator. Everyone will give their feedback, and then that person has to make a call on next steps. So, I'd love to kind of like basically have each of you go through your lean canvas. I'll ask some questions, like, we can each ask questions to kind of like, test people's thinking. And then we can kind of like clarify what the next steps would look like. And that can be like a really good jumping off point for sort of like some self-study this week. How does that sound?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. It's good. It's good.
Cool. What I'll do then is, let me just grab both of your kind of things up. And then what I'll do is kind of like share my screen to save you guys doing it.
Mhm.
And we can kind of like just run through there. Sweet. Okay. So who wants to start?
I'm down to start if you want.
Oh, sounds good, Mo. Yeah, let me just let's go live on this.
Kind of need to refresh a little bit. I forgot what I was thinking.
No, it's all good. Like, please, like, take a quick look, and then let's go through. You can start sharing your thoughts.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think I remember most of it. I had a few ideas at the time. Kind of went with this one. It seemed like to be the most popular.
No, it's all good. So the best part about talking through ideas is that as you talk, you'll think, and so
Yeah.
that's not an issue at all. So why don't you talk to me about a little? Why don't we start with just like the going through kind of like the problem statement, and the customer segments. Why don't you tell me a little bit more about how you sort of like came to these conclusions with the problems, and sort of like the customer segment, because there's definitely some questions we can ask around here.
Yeah, okay. So the problem first was mine. This is something I went through in the beginning. It wasn't completely the idea of my app. I kept like changing. Like it wasn't originally the features I was aiming for, but I kept like searching up and came up with these stuff. Well, for me at least, like I have like mostly like a busy lifestyle, and I also want to work out, and I've been like pushing that away for like a long time. So I thought like if there was a way to make it like easier for myself to do that, I would have probably been more consistent with going to the gym and working out and having a meal plan and everything. So I did some research around that. I used Reddit like you told me as well. It seems like people already use ChatGPT for these stuff, like making meal plans and workout plans. So I thought I could just make it into one place. One second. Oh yeah, so I also tried a few workout apps before, and the problem with it was that you always have to manually enter stuff. And to me that was annoying. So I thought like maybe we can do something that you barely have to open the app, and you get stuff as notifications. And you can just press a few buttons on your notification bar, and it's just done. The app does everything else for you. So yeah, that was the first problem. So yeah, when I want to search for a workout plan and like work and meal plans, usually it takes a long time, and usually I keep altering and thinking that it might not work. So that's the first problem I went through, or first problem I proposed. The second one is I did some research to see how many people go to the gym and actually be consistent with that, especially now that New Year is coming. Um, so yeah, it seems like people usually are not consistent. So that's also second problem. The third problem is people usually look for a way to make stuff perfect before they start anything, and try to like waste a lot of time making plans and thinking what's best for them and everything like that. So yeah, if you're busy, like most people these days, you probably don't have time to do that, so you never really start. So that's the third problem I propose.
And that makes sense. What about so I think that these are all problems that I can definitely see and relate to, and problems that I've also, because I've explored the fitness space before. So this is sort of like a few key things. What's really interesting here is talk to me about the customer segment, because one thing I would say to you based on this lean canvas is I'd say, hey, like, I think that, you know, all the points that you've made here are really reasonable. And I would actually probably challenge you and say that the biggest risk, if we talk about, I'll just open this because it's quite useful, is, you know, the reason I sent you guys this article is because basically, like, this is pretty much the only if you can understand the four big risks in product, you can understand sort of like what you need to do next in order to kind of not only validate an idea but grow a business, or kind of like start making some money. So one of the biggest risks I see in the stuff that you're doing, it's like, you know, value risk, basically your customers buy or use it. It's like, that's probably one of the big risks. Usability risks, it's like, yeah, I think that's, you know, that's solvable. There's plenty of apps that already do this. Feasibility risks, can engineers build it? You've already said that people are creating this with ChatGPT-3, so you know it can be built. And then obviously, you know, viability risks, which kind of is the same as value risk. It's kind of like, will anyone buy it or choose to use it? So whenever you're trying to figure out if someone is going to buy or choose to use something, it really helps to be really specific with customer segmentation. So let's pretend that, you know, your inspiration for this first came from, you know, you and some problems that you're facing. If you were to describe yourself in terms of demographic, what would that look like? So we know that you're a busy person that wants to get fit. You don't have much time on your hands, but what else is there that kind of like helps define people like you?
I think perfectionism is one thing. What else?
What does their day-to-day look like? Like, if you were to describe kind of like their life in the day of this customer, what does that look like?
Would be going to work until 5-6 p.m. Then going back home, trying to rest up for like an hour or something. Then decide to go to the gym if you still have some energy. Yeah, that would be mostly it on a normal day.
Nice, that makes sense. And what's the kind of like, let's say, typical age range of these people? Are they 40 to 50? Are they sort of like 20 to 30, 30 to 40? Like, are they male? Are they female? What kind of jobs would they have? Like, if you have some obviously some hunches, what does that look like?
I think it might fit more IT people, since it could be like a bit hard to use, since it's all about notifications and altering. Yeah, it could be IT people. Probably people with jobs, not really students. Or maybe college students as well. Male or female, I think both.
Yep. Cool, that will make sense. I think that's enough to kind of get started with, because when you learn more, when you start to identify more about your customer segment, the really important thing is it just helps you figure out where you're going to find these people. So, for example, if this was, and Nathan's example, he chose kind of like he looked at some feature set from YouTube, and so like you already have a customer base here. With what you've put together is like something new and novel. So being able to be quite specific with your segmentation allows you to say how might we go and find these people. And a few things come to mind based on what you said. So, for example, I think this is still live. This is actually like a protocol that did exist. It was called dev lifts, basically. So someone else identified the same sort of like problems that you found, and they were like, "Okay, cool, we're going to help devs get fitter." This was something for a while. I didn't realize it stopped, but we just help developers overcome painful and healthy habits and then to live healthier lives through training and community. So there is definitely an angle for this. I'd be curious to know why they shut down. Actually, let's see if it has any information on the Twitter.
Did they shut down?
Okay, so it looks like they shut down, but it looks like I don't from kind of like looking at this, it doesn't seem like they shut down because it was a bad idea as much as it just seems like these people, JC Hyatt and this other gentleman, I think they just became busy. Like it really couldn't be any. So this guy had a kid, and this shut down in around the same time. So there you go. It's like okay, there's novel, there's an angle there. What I mean, so there's clearly like some validation around the market audience there.
How would you find these stuff if you have no idea that it exists? Like I tried searching up, I didn't find anything exactly.
Yeah, so this is what I mean. It becomes very, very useful to be like, okay, cool. Who is this? Who am I serving? Let's type type in fitness for software developers. Right, let's try that. Okay, cool. So we're getting like some exercise videos here. Regular exercise is important for software developers. Let's say fitness. Let's try maybe kind of like things like fitness tools for software developers. And so, okay, maybe we type in Reddit. How do you use men keep fit? So, all of a sudden already, you can see that actually this is quite like a big problem. People are talking about this. They've got like all kinds of information here. So you can get really kind of like in depth with what people are doing and like the things that they're trying. And I think that a lot of the stuff you've identified in your lean canvas, like solutions and problems, are probably consistent, but you get lots of validation now, right? So that's kind of where I was like, okay, cool, just drill into this a little bit more for me, because it'll help you look for where these people might be. So you could also be like hacker news, fitness for devs, because hacker news is quite a big community for this stuff. How do you get fit and healthy as a software engineer? I made a community source fitness routine. There's all kinds of cool stuff. I made $1,000 in my app, now making $500 a month. Features I want to see in this thing. Okay, cool. That's interesting. Let's click on this. Routine DB.
Community source fitness routine database.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea. I've never seen this in my whole life, but unexpected tech. Okay, so this is dead as well. Routine DB, workout tracker. So
that
basically,
could be a red flag, right? Everything is shutting down around this topic.
It could be a red flag. Yeah, you could take it as that. I would probably take it as because it's got 396 upvotes right during the pandemic. So basically, it's saying, okay, cool. Like during the pandemic, this is kind of trendy. People were interested. It's also saying that a lot of people were probably like, it's a competitive space, and I can't be bothered to compete. So that's the big thing here is that fitness is. I don't even know what would happen if I typed in like fitness routine. If I just type in workouts, like if we look at how many results there are, look, there's like 1.5 billion results. Right, so it's not like an easy space. Now, if we put like software developer workouts, we still have 14 million results. So it's quite a competitive space in that sense. And so for some people, they're probably like, why would I focus on this when there's other things I might be better at? Right. So some of it could be a red flag. Some of it could very much simply be like conviction and commitment. So that's kind of like, that's why customer segmentation is super useful. I like the value prop because if you're talking about software developers, that makes a lot of sense. Automation most of the app with least clicks as possible. I mean, it might not even have to be an app, right? It could simply be like, if we're talking about Chat GPT, you get a few questions, you get a workout plan, you get some motivational quotes sent to you, through notifications. Could literally just be built by text. So someone's just going to text you or WhatsApp you every day. Revenue streams, ads is not an option. You're right. Monthly subscription fee could probably work, and then you can do something like MyFitnessPal here, which would also work. Unfair advantage. So this is interesting. So now that we know that the space is very competitive, it's like the question is what would give us a long fair advantage over time. So automation, it's like, okay, cool, like maybe low number of clicks, maybe, but experience is usually copyable. Randomness, it's like, maybe. I think people quite like structure here, so I don't have much to comment on. I would say what would give you an unfair advantage here, based on everything you've said, is specificity and being like hyper focused on software developers, and then hyper focused on building a community around software developers. So, for example, if we look at Stack Overflow, it's like the reason that's so big and it does such a good job of rallying a developer community is simply because, like, what people forget about devs is that they love being able to kind of like help other people answer questions. So it's like how to debug Python, I don't know, let's put something 313 error. It'll just give me some crappy result. Okay, let's just type in Python debugger. Just give me anything. I want to know I'm human. Okay. I'll just train this quick Google algorithm. Right. So this is like very typical for devs. Like ask questions, people respond, things get upvoted. So developer communities are very tight, and this is the same reason why even languages like .NET don't die. Because when people get involved, especially males, like they tend to build tribes and communities that are very hard to break down. And so, your unfair advantage really is if you can build the community, like people will just stand by it. People will be very happy to be like, like this thing works. This is for me. I can talk with other people. I can share ideas. It lifts me up. Another product, which is very kind of like developer and like software kind of like driven, is kind of Huel. I don't know if you've ever seen this before. It's like a Western product, but what it does is it's basically like powdered food. It's very popular in Europe, and it's very popular because it's the Huel forum. It's very popular because it's quick, it's easy, and it matches a lot of the things you've said here. It's like basically automation of most of the apps with automation of most of the app with as least clicks as possible is basically the same as Huel. It's like good quality nutrition with the least cooking possible. And Huel have a big community here, which involves a lot of men, and it involves a lot of people who would be defined as kind of like software developers, designers, or similar. And really, it grew from community-driven stuff to begin with. So that's probably where the unfair advantage would come from. And if I was being sort of like, kind of picky on risks, I probably would say the value risk and the business viability risk are the hardest things to kind of like validate. And so let's pretend that we lived in a world where we looked at this lean canvas and you have a lot of conviction in this idea. And I said, okay, cool. Like, what would you do next to try and validate if you should build this?
So before I build it, you mean?
Before, don't. So this is the beauty about product. With product, what you kind of want to do is you kind of want to try and find that you want to fix these, find how risky these things are before you do it. So usability and feasibility risk, fine, no issue. Value risk and business viability risk, it's like, okay, we can probably fix.
We can ask questions, maybe.
Yeah. Who would you ask questions to?
What in this case, developers.
And how would you find and get in touch with these developers?
There's a lot of online sources. Doing surveys, for example, is one thing. Could be asking people around me, colleagues.
Perfect. That's a good place to start.
Reddit is a good place, probably.
Reddit is a good place as well, yeah. So when we built Mora, for example, we started with friends and family members because friends and family members are always the easiest people to start talking to and questioning. What I would say is if you use friends and mom test questions, if you are to chat with friends or family members, let's just have a quick look if this is good.
But I have a question. Isn't this a bit risky if you ask people about your idea, people you don't know, before the idea is
No. This is really clever. So I love this question. I'm going to just paste this in here. It's a good way to kind of get questions. So I'll tell you why it's a good idea to socialize your idea as much as possible. And I'll tell you why, because I think there's a few reasons here. And I used to have a similar mindset to this.
Mhm.
Number one is if you want to build something and you have a great idea,
Mhm.
the difference between the idea working and, it not working is effort, nothing else. So there's a lot of great ideas that people have had. And the reason those ideas go nowhere is because they don't want to put the effort in. Now, if you're really passionate about the idea and you're willing to put in the effort, there's actually no harm in telling lots and lots of people, because the chance of them stealing that idea is incredibly low because they don't want to put in the effort. Because when the day is long and the nights are hard and, you have zero customers and no one cares what you're doing, that's when the effort really matters. And a lot of people aren't willing to put that level of effort in. And so the first thing is, if you have conviction in something and you believe that you're willing to put in the effort, you're already 95% ahead of most of the people you're going to speak to. Most of the people you're going to speak to do not want to put in that effort. Another reason why it's good to socialize ideas is because other people will say, oh, I saw something like this, or, oh, there's this thing you should check out. And it gives you an idea of whether or not something like this exists, or whether or not, you have a tool that you can explore, kind of like Devlifts, right? So I'm just showing you this because I'm like, hey, this might be something to explore. Like, take a look at it. It kind of sounds similar. And it helps you figure out how to pattern ideas and what has worked and hasn't worked before. And the third reason you should socialize ideas is because the more and more people you talk to about this, the more and more you might actually generate customers in the process. So if you're going to talk with other software developers, that's amazing, because they might say, sign me up, because when you're ready to do this, I want in. That sounds amazing. I have this problem. And when you have that, then you can be like, oh, cool. I'll keep you on a list and I'll keep you posted on when that happens. So I completely agree with you. I think that the great next steps would be trying to find people to talk to. And I suppose my challenge for you from here would be, can you have, 5 meaningful customer conversations within your demographic? And can you use some of those, I've dropped the Momtest article in the Discord, but can you basically create some questions which allow you to validate whether or not this is a problem and people would pay for it? And can you do that without them just saying, oh, of course, you're my friend, this is a great idea, I'd love to try it? It's like, no. It's like, not as my friend, it's like as someone who would give me, and then, you make up a figure, $10-15 a month, would you pay for this? Or what would you need to see to want to pay for it? And, people lie. People will be like, oh, I want this, or I would pay for it, don't worry. But the good news is every data point is more useful. And then what you could even do then is, this is what I love to do, but more than anything else, is I'd use a really crappy website like Card that lets me put together a very ugly one-page website like this. Yeah, it's so easy, man. It doesn't even require any coding. It's just drag and drop editor for landing pages. I would put one of these together with some of the copy from this and some images. I'd make it kind of feel nice, and then I would share it with people on Reddit. I'd share it with people on Hacker News. I'd basically see, can I get 10 people to sign up to this, and how hard was it for me to get 10 people to sign up to this? And then if the people sign up, I'd love to be like, okay, cool. And if you'd like beta access, we'll jump on a call so that I can learn a bit more about you and your problems. And I would make it feel real, right? So I'd be like, okay, enter your email to get beta access, even though nothing is built, nothing is real. It's just some text and a couple of images. It's fine. It's you want it to feel real so people kind of dive in. So that's a good thing to do around the internet is, post it in different places, see if you can get some signups, and ultimately, chat with your friends. Now, what might happen, and this is fine, is lots of other people in this industry have done the same thing as you, in the sense of they've pestered people, they've posted kind of card landing pages on the web, and people are very skeptical. That's fine. That's normal. If that happens and you come back, let's say the next time we speak, and you said, look, I've had 5 customer conversations, I've written down the responses from these customers, I feel like I have a good sort of understanding of the problems now, and I posted a crappy landing page I put together in all of these places, and no one signed up, and we talk a little bit more about that, I'll be able to tell you whether or not it's simply the case of, okay, that's because there's no market signal, or because the industry is just really fatigued. Because all of this lean startup stuff is really cool, but there are some industries where people are just tired of seeing it, man. For example, if I show you this website, this website is essentially like just a validation, like landing page right now. I don't actually believe a product exists here at all. But they know full well that the only reason people are going to sign up to their mailing list is if they can kind of like show a very nice looking experience that might be polished and is like, fully formed with like thinking and like GIFs and everything else.
That's
And
really
that's because
cool.
it is really cool, but this is because the tech industry is so fatigued from this lean startup methodology of people just throwing like crappy pages up that they're like, okay, cool. The only way to validate this idea is to make it seem really real. And there is nothing real about this as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
It's just like mock-ups, right? Nothing is like exists here. Now, you might end up with the same type of problem when you start posting around your fitness idea. I don't think you will, to be honest. I think a few people will buy in. But if you do, it's like this is one data point that suggests where you're targeting tech people. Tech people are just tired of people throwing like really lazy startup pages at them because they know the thing doesn't exist. And some people have to like create something as grandiose as this to validate the concept. So I think that you've done a good job with the lean canvas. My main feedback is just around your customer segmentation. I think that's really important. And then I'd say like in terms of next steps, go out and really sort of like try and test this value risk and whether or not people will buy it. And if you can get some good information and good signals on that, then in our next conversation we come back and chat on that.
Yeah, sure. I think I have an advantage since it's about fitness. Most people are passionate about that topic. Just lazy to start, so probably have some
That
advantage
sounds
there.
good. Yeah, that's perfect. And that is a real advantage as well. People found the market fit is a thing. So if you're either a specialist in a field or you're just really motivated to do something that no one else is, like that's a good reason to do something. Perfect. Cool. Nate, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, you mean on this?
Yeah, do you have anything you want to share? Or we can move straight on to your lean canvas if you like.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. For fitness, I think you could also maybe like add maybe if okay, I was talking about something like a feature that since people are lazy to just to get to work out or whatever. So maybe like a simple 3-step or 2-step process, and then with that, validating it with the customers or the target audience, see their feedback with that. So it will make it easy to just test it with them and then get feedback if they will pay for it or not. I think something like that. That's
Cool.
an idea I think I suggest.
That makes sense.
Can be on
And
anything,
obviously,
whether maybe a jogging, can be like wake up in the morning around 6 to 5, or no, not 6 to 5, can be like around 6. Then maybe for just 10 minutes or 5 minutes, something easy. I think people respond positively to something more easier than when it's long. So I think you can use something like that, to a feature like that in the fitness, to draw more people. And then they can pay for that. So I think that's an idea.
that's interesting.
And
And would you class yourself as someone that likes fitness, Nate?
yeah, I didn't get the question.
I said, would you class yourself as someone that's into fitness?
Yeah, I do. I love fitness. I love keeping myself or I like working out and all that, just to make sure at least my body is flexible and you get and that
Nice.
and strong too. Yeah, so I'm into fitness. Like
Cool. Cool. So there you go, Mo. There could be one topic of
Yeah.
conversation to have.
Yeah. Surprisingly, most people are into fitness. Just a lot of people are too lazy to do anything about it.
Yeah.
yeah,
So, so yeah, so you come up.
yeah.
Mhm. 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 Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I think Cassius brought up a good idea that I might maybe have to change the whole idea of my app when it comes to notifications. If I want to make a community, like opening an app is necessary for sure.
Maybe the only thing I should do to challenge that is I would maybe challenge sort of like what the community needs to do. So, for example,
Mhm.
Huel is like, this just sells, it just has a forum and it sells physical stuff, right?
Mhm.
So it depends what the community means to you and ultimately kind of like how you see the community evolving. So if
Mhm.
you're like, oh, actually, yeah, you're right. Like community stuff is really important for devs. And you
Yeah,
look around Reddit, Hacker News and everything else, and you're like, huh,
yeah.
like I wonder how to integrate this. That's also bear in mind, like at this stage, the reason we do a lean canvas and not like a gigantic business
Mhm.
plan is because all of this
Yeah,
can change.
yeah,
Every time you get a new piece of information, you change it how you need to. So
yeah.
if you know community is a big piece, do what you need to do to make it work.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, exactly. Notification and community doesn't work together at all. So I have to pick one of these. Uh, uh, yeah, I need to do some research about that.
Cool. Hey, this is exactly what these kind of sessions are for. So I'm glad to hear it. All right, Nate, let's move on to your one. Why don't you start sharing some of your thoughts here? Let's start with the problem
Yeah.
in the customers.
Okay. Yeah, my idea was just about the YouTube. Like, I just noticed I'm not creating a product, but just trying to improve the experience of the
Mm-hmm.
users. So these are the three problem or four problems I noticed. Like, there are times even when myself I connect to the platform, it's kind of slow loading some videos, or maybe it's the pictures are the video quality is kind of reduced or pixelated. I think maybe it adjusts all that. So I think that's one of the issues, speed buffering and connectivity. Then another one is difficulty finding specific content. Yeah, like even recently today, I had a friend that had issues with his Twitter account. I think they are saying something about not able to send some messages because of this two-step authentication. And as I was checking through looking for a YouTube video, I saw so many that were not even related. Even one posted something on gaming and he just put the title of solving the messaging stuff with Twitter and it was not related at all. So I think something like that is one of the issues people face, which I faced too. Then coming across inappropriate content or even offensive ones that are not related and some of them just post things that you just waste your time and not really help anyone. So that is also another one. Then yeah, people also have privacy concerns about their personal information. Like they are afraid that maybe their information might get leaked out. Some people don't use their real name or that on YouTube because they don't want all this their content kind of being can I say what is the word for it? Is it blackmailed or whatever? Like with their content and all that. And YouTube is a place where
Mm-hmm.
people come to see solutions in form of videos and get relation, like get connected to the person offering that information. So if their information gets leaked, I think that's one thing to be worried about. And I use chatbots to just analyze and draw this, and also some I also experience too. Yeah, so for the customer segments, I identified three tiers. The primary one is the young users, teenagers. Yeah, every young guys, everyone nowadays, that teenagers, male or female, I believe
Mm-hmm.
they love to use YouTube. I think it's even from what I got to research, like this will be the second search engine, most searched engine. I'm not surprised. It's a platform for videos, but people search also more information on it too. And a lot of teenagers and youths they find it very, very, very user friendly. So that's the I think that from that is the primary target for them for more of young youths to be on it. Definitely, it's the primary target of YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Then educators and students without going for maybe downloading or paying for one course. You can just learn step by step and understand a few things there. Then content creators and producers, people that have maybe contents they want to share with community, so they can just join their source of their members to the YouTube channel for them to get those content, maybe pay for them to. Yeah. Can I keep going or should
No, I think
I
that
stop there?
no, I think
To the
here's,
unique
here's
value.
what
Okay.
no, I think what we can start talking about here is we can start sort of like I just want to clarify a couple of things. So you created a lean canvas, just to confirm, to essentially solve or improve
Yeah.
the overall experience for YouTube Shorts. So the little things that pop up
Yeah,
here, right?
exactly.
Perfect.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so right now, is there a? I take it YouTube Shorts. There's no app for it specifically, right? It's just a section within the YouTube app itself. So are we talking specifically around
Yeah,
like
the
mobile, or we?
mobile.
Oh, it's
Yeah, that's it.
YouTube Shorts. So some guy has created a third-party piece for this. But you're, I assume, referring to the actual YouTube app within the App Store, right? It'd be like this, and it'd be like
Okay. Yeah,
the
this
shorts
is
here,
the
right?
yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Is it? Wouldn't that be competing with TikTok?
So that's YouTube's goal, yeah. YouTube's goal is to compete with TikTok.
Yeah, but that means
Um,
Nate is trying to compete with TikTok.
yeah,
No,
Nate,
really, I just want to improve the experience. That's just
Hmm.
my
gotcha.
Mhm.
So what I hear is what you've done is you've said, okay, I'm going to create almost like a lean canvas so that I can essentially look at something like these shorts within the YouTube app and say, look, here's what I think improvements could be made because I feel that you guys are missing out on opportunities and this would improve not only the experience, but perhaps as well the overall viability of the product. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Cool.
That's exactly what I'm trying to do.
Cool. So I think that this is really interesting
Yeah.
because there's other people that have done this before, and I can send you some stuff in terms of like what next steps look like. Let's see, Apple Music. So this is quite a long. Yeah, this is quite a long time ago. This is by like a Jason One, who at the time was quite young, and I assume he's doing great things now. Let's see what he's doing. Got any information on him? Because he was very young at the time, and I just want to quickly do this, and I'll come back to the article. Jason One design. In fact, I think he designed something that I was really kind of he designed this operating system thing, Mercury OS, which was probably like one of the coolest concepts that were floating around the internet at one point. But it's sort of gone now. But yeah, so basically this Jason gentleman, what he did was similar to kind of like what you were suggesting. He saw that, there were some improvements that could be made. Can I go back again? And I'm going to drop this into Discord. There's some improvements that can be made specifically within Apple Music. Now, he's a designer, not necessarily a product person. So he took the approach of writing about his experience and then obviously introducing, like some new designs and what he would change and the reason why he would change it. He's got a few bits and pieces here. I mean, ironically, I think what he did was pretty cool. They offered him a job afterwards, which I thought was quite fun. But what I see with the kind of like lean canvas that you're kind of like looking to create here is it's sort of along these same lines. It's like, and there's plenty of people on the internet that do these sort of like unsolicited kind of like product crits, if that makes sense, where it's like, okay, I have feedback for, let's say, Medium, how to improve YouTube Shorts. Maybe some other people have written about this. How to manipulate YouTube Shorts, improve the average watch time for YouTube Shorts. That's pretty cool. So a few other people have written about this, which might be worth reading into. And I think the beautiful thing about sort of like what you've done is while it's not necessarily a startup idea and it's not necessarily kind of like a new way of starting something from scratch. Something like this is quite interesting because you're basically saying, look, I have some insights that I want to share with you guys around ways that I think this experience could be improved. And then what I would kind of challenge you to do here is, if you're inside of a big company like Google already, your biggest challenge is actually to win over other stakeholders, because to some extent, usability risk is, well, if you're talking about improvements, the usability is like, it's risky, but it's fixable, because fundamentally it's like a pattern that already exists. You get lots of user feedback very quickly. Feasibility risk, you haven't come up with anything that's like unfeasible. It's mostly experience changes. Business viability risk, it's like, well, you're a few steps down the line. It's like, so, value risk again is the biggest risk for you with this. It's like, will customers value the improvements that you're suggesting? And will they make YouTube Shorts better fundamentally for the customers and for YouTube? And so I look at this, and then, for me, it kind of stands out as, okay, like the logical next step for you from here, especially if you're talking about like some of this stuff. So cost structures, etc. What I would say is, I would also probably, if you're talking about an existing product, I would definitely do some more research into kind of like, YouTube's current revenue streams. I'd also do some more research into their cost structure. The metrics I think that you have here are pretty good. Really, you've got monthly actives, video time spent on the app, revenue. Those are all advertiser spending. These are all good metrics. Scale. These are all true unfair advantages for YouTube. But I would just do some more research into revenue and then cost structures, because you'd be very surprised how profitable something like YouTube is and how little it actually costs to run. So to put it into perspective, if I was to put to you like, what is the margin on YouTube ads for Google? See if it gives me the answer. What is the margin? I might be able to get it for. I want to give you some data rather than just saying it, because. Okay, cool. So I can't give you any direct data for this, but businesses like YouTube and Facebook and Google in general. Now, if you're an advertising business, your margin is huge. So, for example, like everything that YouTube is doing with Shorts, everything they're doing with YouTube, it's like the cost of R&D is expensive. But if you said to me right now, how much is it going to cost to run YouTube the way it is right now and to maintain market share for 5-10 years? The answer is, not a lot. It would probably cost 1% of total revenue for Google and YouTube to keep all of the systems functioning, all of the teams working that are working now, to support this and to not do any R&D. So you're talking like a massively high margin business. So when we're looking at like revenue streams and we're looking at cost structures, I would probably do a bit more deep dive and kind of research into that. And then I would also kind of like try and tie that back into how some of the features and things you're suggesting will ultimately sort of like, improve those metrics and, the structures behind them. And then probably for you, what I'd suggest is probably putting together like a little write-up like this, really with like sort of like, the questions that you're trying to, and the questions and problems you're trying to solve, and then just outlining that, and then sharing that with other people to get some feedback and to understand whether or not they think that would be an improvement, because that's a really useful way to sort of like basically simulate what it would be like to try and get buy-in in a business. So if you created this and you're trying to get other product managers or other product people or developers or funding or teams in YouTube to say, yes, I'm going to support this, you're going to have to convince them. And you'd be surprised, like these documents, while they're designed for kind of like anyone to read, you'd probably circulate something very similar to this to it internally. So, you also have the Amazon 6-pager, which I'm not suggesting you do. But I am going to just share this with you as like another example of like writing that people would do to get buy-in within a company. And I'd read through that. But that's sort of like where I would take your canvas from where it is now. And the reason I've helped you a little bit in terms of kind of like the steps that you take is because I think that if you haven't worked in a big company before, it can be a bit difficult to understand sort of like one, what these risks mean, and then two, like how you might start to progress something in a big company, because the structure is very different. When you start something from nothing, you're your own boss. You can do whatever the hell you want. Like no one can tell you what to do. But when you're YouTube and you're working within the team, if you want to make an improvement, you have to be like, right, like how can I have really crisp, clear thinking that other people are going to buy into? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that really helps. But also, can I like maybe list their maybe have a support or contact us section? Can I like maybe ask if I can improve like some questions to them based on these factors and the benefits of what they can do? Is that a good like since you said I'll need a better idea from someone in the company, like if I'm inside. So is that a way to
Mhm.
like
Yeah, you could. So
skill on that?
if yeah, so what you could do, and there's no harm in this, I've done this before, is you could go to LinkedIn and you could just type in Google PM. And let's say, you know, let's do a quick security check, right? I'm smart. Yeah, so what you could very easily do is could go on YouTube, LinkedIn, and you could search for someone that does product management for Shorts specifically. So I'm not logged in, but let's say LinkedIn, YouTube, Shorts, product manager, director of product management. Probably would be, you see this Debbie person. You could just reach out to them and say, look, I have some ideas. Like, are you willing to kind of like, talk to me about sort of like, um, in fact, what I'll do is how to write the perfect cold outreach email for LinkedIn.
Would they actually read it?
Yes, yes. You're honestly, okay, fine. Cold email format, Ben Kuhn. So this is the trouble with people with people in general, is that they think that if someone has a nice title and they're busy, then they're never ever going to reply, and that's wrong. Like that's just outright
Huh.
wrong. So to put it into perspective, like this is a really good summary of why you should write cold emails to people or cold messages, because these things are all true. And I can tell you, as someone that has received thousands of cold emails and made a few $1 million off of cold emails before, like this is an all fact. Anyone who's busy and important reads their own email. They're good at responding to email. They are very happy to share, so they're curious people. And while they have very little time, they are very, very happy to help if you have a specific ask. So if you can say, I'm going to ask for something, it's going to take no more than maybe 5 to 10 minutes of my time, and I can do it asynchronously, they're almost guaranteed to respond. Now, if you want them to schedule a call with you, that could take some time. But what I would say as well is it's a bit of an art, because, part of the problem here is that you can send 100 cold emails and maybe get 5 responses. And that's simply because you're messaging the wrong people. And so only 5 of those people that receive the emails are actually people who are like, that email is perfectly tailored for. So, Nate, if you really wanted to turn around and actually, chat with some people in YouTube, it's like you could very easily follow you could very easily follow this framework and then share like a cold, like, and it could be when I say cold email, it could be a cold LinkedIn message. It's the same thing. Around what you would say to people, you could share it in the Discord, and I'd be very happy to tell you if I would respond to it and give you some feedback. And then you can just share it, send it to a few kind of like YouTube Shorts PMs, and say, look, I've been thinking about this, and see if they respond. And the best part about this is if they don't respond, that's fine. Like your life doesn't change. And if they do respond, that's amazing because you get some feedback, right? So, that's if you really wanted to socialize the idea, it's like, cool. Well, you can be like, look, I've been thinking about these things and I'd like, to have a quick conversation. And you could even ping across your thoughts and see if they'd give you like, a quick response in 5 minutes and tell you if any of them are good ideas or where they fall over. Very happy to do that. So those are 2 things I would try. I would first of all try and like refine your thoughts into like a nice document, sort of like a couple of the articles I've posted in Discord, and then I would be like, okay, cool. Well, why not just send them a message and see if they respond? That's like absolutely fine. And Mo, the same thing goes for you, where it's like, okay, if you want to speak with like anyone in any founders in the fitness space that have built software, like just ping them. So if you go on LinkedIn and say, hey, like I'm thinking about using ChatGPT to build this thing. Like, here's my hunch. It's like, can you just can you just write me a one-liner about the biggest thing you've learned while building software for the fitness industry? Done. Like, they might respond. Like, I would come back and respond to that. So that's, people don't realize that these people, they have 2 arms, they have 2 legs, and at one point they were learning as well. I'm very happy to help.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's
So
correct.
yeah. So that
Thanks
would
for
be
the
my
insight.
challenge to you, mate. Yeah. Be brave and send some messages to like PMs and YouTube Shorts.
Yeah, I will.
I guarantee you that. Yeah, you should, and I guarantee you can share the message in the Discord before you send it, and we can give some feedback. But I guarantee you, if you can find 50 people to send that message to,
Okay.
one person will respond. I can guarantee it. I bet I'd even bet $100 on it. At least one person will respond if the message is good.
I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, cool. So then in that case, I'll just start streaming. So guys, like that's sort of my challenge to you both. It's like, do you feel like you have clear action items?
Yes, I think. At least the
Yeah.
environment around me, I can solve that.
Mhm.
And Reddit, for sure.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it's fair.
Nice. And Nate, how do you feel?
Yeah, good. I'm going to work on researching more on those cost structure and the revenue, and also try and craft out some emails which I can use to reach out to the
Nice.
those in the industry sector to get more insights. Yeah, I'll
Perfect.
send it once I'm crafted it. I'll send it to the platform so you can just check on it before I send it out.
Yeah, would love to. Would love to give some feedback because then you can have like a really strong message, and we'll see if people respond. And like I said, if you send enough of them, a person definitely will respond, which is amazing. So, one thing I just want to end the session with is, because it's a small group and we can chat and kind of like tailor the curriculum and the studying as we're going forwards. This is really how product works in real life. You will find a lot of sort of courses and a lot of very like big technical jargon on the internet, which attempts to help you create frameworks and models for thinking clearly.
Mhm.
And if you can, at every single stage, simply say, what is my end goal and what are the next reasonable steps? And you can get better at picking the next best reasonable step and moving towards the right goal, then you will be amazing at product. There is no magic secret sauce to it and frameworks for it. There are plenty of great frameworks to use, but the beauty about being able to think clearly is then you can think about what do I not know or what do I need to know now, and then you can just find the framework rather than relying on the framework. So that's like a key thing here, and that's why I want both of you to take away and to really focus on is what is the next best step from here, and how is it going to help me move closer towards the right goal? And if you guys keep doing that, you'll be great product thinkers. And if you are great product thinkers, then whatever you choose to build, design, or anything in between is going to be fantastic. So.
Mhm.
Cool. Any questions?
I don't think so, not from my side.
Yeah, I guess I understand what I'm to do now.
It was really
Perfect.
useful to go through everything. I think I have more clarity on that now.
Nice.
So we'll see you until next week. Yes.
Right. Well, I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
All right. Well, thank you both.
Thank you.
Perfect. Speak soon.
Bye bye.
Yeah.